You're listening to The Tales We Tell, a podcast about spooky stories, unsolved mysteries, and local lore. I'm your host, Hannah Parch.
And I'm Katie.
Welcome back. You still had a little bit of wine grizzle there.
I did.
It's okay. Okay, Katie, can you read the name of our wine today?
Shooting Star Pinot Noir.
Okay. Oh, it rhymes.
I know, that's why I said it.
Okay. Do you want to guess
From California. Just kidding.
That's not part of the theme.
Actually, I don't know where it's from.
I don't know where it's from either.
I thought I saw California on there, and then I was like, wait, no, I'm making that up.
Lake County.
Yeah.
So it's themed. I do have announcements, but I want you to guess the theme first. Okay. You have a guess for that's your only hint.
Astronomy? Or extraterrestrials?
Yeah.
We haven't done aliens for a while.
I know. I'm excited. And if you notice, I have a file over there for you.
Is it behind the...
It's behind the
corndle?
The corndle. You don't get to look at it yet, though.
I'm definitely going to look at the folder.
I know,
because
isn't it cute?
Dogs all over it.
I went to Staples this weekend.
What happened to your cool, armchair detective manila folder?
It's over there, but I thought this one was cuter.
It is cuter. I went dogs with glasses on them.
The one thing about my new job is that it's a state job, which is great. And the state pays for office supplies, which is also great, but also means it takes forever because it has to be approved by 29 people. And obviously I wouldn't order dog decorative folders on the state's dime, but I ordered a bunch of office supplies that I did need, and they're not even approved. Anyways, it's gonna be a while. So I was like, well, I'm gonna go ahead and pick up a few things that I do need in the meantime, and I really wanted cute folders just to make my days a little brighter. And they had those at Staples for not a lot of money, and so I bought them. And then I pulled out the manila envelope, and I was like, psh, I'm going to use one of my dog folders. So, anyway. Also, let's I want you to open your present next.
Yay.
Nothing is related. It's not like last time.
So there's not an ET in here?
No. So this is half of your present because it came the quickest.
Lilliput. You have Lilliputians in here?
No.
Moth earrings! These are from the same place that my Ouija board planchettes are from, too.
Yep. They're from New Orleans.
Moths. Yes, so cute. Yeah. I love them. I'll have to take a pic for the Insta.
When I think of you, and I think of spooky aesthetics, I think of moths.
Because I like them and you hate them.
I do, yeah.
I also like goats.
Ugh. And I like birds. So, yeah. And so when I looked up, I got on Etsy and I was searching moth jewelry. And she was the first one that came up, and I was like, oh, I recognize her. And then I felt even better because I was supporting a New Orleans based artist also makes me happy. So
next time I go to visit, I'll have to try and
find her.
Yeah, find her.
Stalk her.
I can do that.
Sneak up on her.
If she doesn't have an actual store, then maybe a stall at the French market.
There you go. Or just if you're not visiting, go on our Etsy store.
Yeah, I can do that too.
We're doing that thing where we talk real quiet again.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Usually that's just my problem, though. And I have a bad feeling that it's going to happen tonight because I'm tired.
That's okay. Just drink the wine. It's fine. I'm happy to tell you that nothing, no babies die in this episode.
That is fantastic news.
No one dies in this episode.
I will drink to that.
There we go.
Our plastic planks always sound terrible.
It's because we hold it. Hold on. If you hold it by the stem... There we go.
Still didn't sound good.
Well, Jarek, overflowed my glass here. I look like a lush. This is also a Dante Safe episode, so Dante, feel free to listen. Okay, I have a few announcements. They are basically both from my mom, because she sent me an email.
Oh man, it's serious. If it's an email, not a text or a phone call.
So she reminded me, because I guess I asked for people to tell us if they had something weird where they hid creepy dolls around their house, which she did send me a separate email unrelated that was, she said she could see me doing this with my children. Instead of elf on a shelf, it was a doll in the hall. It was just like
I love it.
creepy doll in the hall.
I love
And
it.
I was like, yeah, I would do that with my kids for sure.
Because that elf on the shelf crap is not for me.
No, you want to slightly scare your kids a little.
Oh, hell yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Traumatize the crap out of them, sure.
The thing you said about the nightlight that's scarier than the monsters.
Yeah.
Like, that makes sense. So my mom reminded me, she's like, well, we don't hide creepy dolls around the house, but we do hide fake cockroaches around the house for each other. And I was like, yeah, we do that. And actually, Jarek's family just kind of got initiated into that without me realizing it. So they were here while I was at my parents', and I don't even know who started it.
Because you were being a big weenie.
Listen, I didn't want to mess anything up with my job. So obviously I have some fake cockroaches around my house. They're just, everyone in the Jenkins family just has them floating around their belongings.
I remember them making an appearance when you guys first moved in.
Yeah.
And, like, unpacking and stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing, is sometimes they will scare me. So, like, I had one in my purse from when I cleaned out my old desk, and, like, forgot it was there, and it, like, fell out of my purse in a store. And I was like, God, I'm gonna be like the creepy lady.
The creepy bug lady.
Yeah.
Which we've all heard the story of Shelton's creepy bug lady.
Oh, yes, with a pizza. Oh.
Yeah. Quick recap for any new listeners. One of Shelton's patients tried to give him a piece of pierogi pizza. And it was covered in foil. And he was like, yeah, sure, thanks, no problem. I'll try this later while I'm not at work. And then he looked and noticed that it looked like it was moving. And he peeled back the aluminum foil. And there's all these bugs that are like dead and half dead in this pizza. She'd also returned empty pill bottles, or like half empty pill bottles that, you know, had some pills, but also some bugs in them too. And she's just
bless.
foul.
Just.
She hasn't been around in a while because she kept stealing cat food because she goes and feeds all the stray cats around town. And so she was stealing cat food, so the managers kept following her around and, you know, basically banned her. And,
oh no. Why would you steal your cat food from Publix? You can go to the Family Dollar and probably much more easily steal cat food from there.
Or just buy it.
I mean, or just buy it, but I'm just saying, if you're gonna...
We're not encouraging theft here.
But I'm saying, if you're gonna steal the cat food, just... whatever. Anyway...
Sorry for that tangent.
Someone hid... I think it was Jarek, found a cockroach and hid it, like, for Chloe, who was staying with us, and then she hid it under Eli's pillow. Eli is her husband, and then they hid it in, like, Caressa's luggage or something. I don't know. Anyways, it ended up, it's actually on the wall outside of the office, and I didn't notice it for a week, and I was sitting at the desk out here and saw it out of the corner of my eye, and it made me jump, because that's one of the perils of
didn't notice it coming in.
Fake roaches everywhere. The other thing my mom wanted to remind me of is, I don't remember what we said about lions in the Beast of
Gévaudan.
There you go. But apparently we were wrong about lions. I don't know. I don't remember what we said about them, but my mom just wanted to point out that there were lions in Bible times. And I don't know if we said that there weren't. I think we just said there weren't lions in France.
Yeah, I think lions weren't endemic to France was what we said.
I don't know. Anyways, lions were in the Bible is the announcement that we're making. Okay, and then I think I just put this last one in here out of spite. 'Cause today's topic was going to be about something completely different. Like, this was one of those things where I had probably half of it written, and then the stupid internet kept giving me conflicting quote-unquote facts about stuff. It was going to be a haunted apartment complex, which I thought was going to be super cool. And then I kept getting really conflicting facts about stuff. And so I was like, you know what? Screw this. And so I deleted it all and I started over with aliens.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to do a super deep dive into this, there is a website that has a ton of information. It's called ianridpath.com. And I'm going to have it linked, obviously, because I used it as a source. But you can look at that and probably spend a whole day going through all of his stuff.
This is the actual episode, right? Not the...
Yes,
okay.
Yes. Not the one with all the...
I thought you were outsourcing our research. Like, hey, we would love to do the story on this apartment complex, but if anyone can get some actual... direct facts, then go for it.
No. The one I was going to do was...
Do our work for us.
Well, I will say, I was going to do the Dakota Apartments, which is this old fancy luxury apartment building in New York. It's where John Lennon was killed. It's where a bunch of famous people lived. And it's alleged to be cursed. But then there's a whole bunch of, someone was like, oh, part of Rosemary's Baby was filmed there. No, it wasn't. But then there was cool stuff about how Rosemary's Baby was, probably cursed. And then there was, well, this actor died there, but not really. And this actress, Marilyn Monroe, did a photo shoot 6 years before she died. And it was just, there was a lot of stuff that was
It's weird they put all that stuff that's not true. Because, you're not allowed to lie on the internet.
Yeah, I don't know how the internet let that stuff get on there, but anyways, I mean, if anyone has any ironclad facts about, I learned some cool stuff about the guy who built it, which is that he was a billionaire, but other than that, not. I had a bunch of those cool number, I like to do my number things where I'm this much money in 19
your conversions.
Yeah, my conversions, I had a bunch of those ready. Don't have any of that in this one.
Well, then why are we even doing this?
I know. Okay. What I do have is a disclosure. I'm going to start by telling the story as it has been alleged. And we will get to the inconsistencies later.
So, my job is to not nitpick as we go along?
Your job is to... just understand that I'm going to say allegedly a lot. I had my notes color coordinated, and I guess they didn't save on my iPad color coordinated. I had all of my, alleged stuff purple, and now it's all white. So, whatever. Just hang in there, everyone. Okay. So, today I'm going to tell you about the Rendlesham Forest incident. Okay. So, we are going to Suffolk, England. And it is December 26th, 1980. So not too far long ago. What am I trying to say? Not too long ago.
There you go.
Thank you. Okay. So Jim Burrows, who was 19 at the time, and Jim Peniston, who was a staff... I'm going to say his name a lot, so get it out.
Never. I have the humor of a 12-year-old boy.
Would you like to hold the corndle while I talk about Peniston? I'm allowing you to laugh at him because he turns out to kind of be the one.
He's a boob.
Yeah, he's kind of a boob. He is a staff sergeant in charge of security. They are both stationed at the Royal Air Force Woodbridge base. And they're both American, by the way. American troops stationed at this British base. It's the middle of the Cold War, whatever. We're allies. Okay. So, Woodbridge...
We're homies.
Homies. That's right. We're friends. Woodbridge had a sister base, or a twin base, called Bentwaters. And they were both, allegedly, and also probably secretly, home to tactical nuclear weapons. It's 1980, so that is not public knowledge. As far as everyone else knows, they're just regular bases in England. And they...
Honestly, if these, like, rumors and conspiracies were out and they happen to be accurate, I'm sure as heck, like, positive they are not true anymore.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we're gonna move them now.
Yeah, oops. So they also both had members of the Aerospace Rescue and Recovery Squadron stationed there. And that's a sector of the U.S. Special Forces.
Ours,
yeah.
Ours?
Oh.
I was trying to
Yeah,
think of
ours.
what the acronym
Ours.
sounds.
I was like, yes, ours.
So are they, like, it's aeronautics, you said, was
Yeah.
the A? So they're space pirates. Ours.
Yeah.
Continue.
So they're in charge of locating and recovering Apollo command modules and other space debris. Which is like...
So they really are kind of like... They're more so like space scavengers.
Kind of.
Pirates.
But, like, I feel like that's kind of important because I'm about to tell you about, like, a UFO sighting. So, just... And, like, I don't think that Burroughs and Penniston were, like, part of that, but these two bases were specifically for, like, spotting space debris and, like, recovering that kind of stuff. Okay, so around 3 a.m. on December 26th, so, like, barely not Christmas anymore, Burroughs and Penniston saw what they thought might be a beacon in the sky. So it was described as a light in the sky that was flashing green, red, orange, and white. Another security guard would later say that it looked like a, quote, very bright falling star. And another serviceman would describe it as having a blue-green luminescent tail. So Burroughs and Penniston were like, we should probably see what that is because it looked like it fell into the forest. And I think initially they thought maybe it was like an aircraft. And again, possibly they are guarding nuclear weapons. And so it is important to make sure you know things that are nearby. So they get permission from their superior and they're going to go. Are you about to laugh at something? What's happening?
I was trying to figure out when to blurt out, Christmas toy!
Oh. I was like, I don't know what you're...
I was like, nope, now is not the time, blurt it. No, because I know that we're going to get to inconsistencies and stuff and theories later. I just wanted to throw out there that it sounds like somebody got some sort of, like, radio flying, like an RC plane or copter or something that has lights and doodads on it.
I mean, no one even suggested, like, it could have been Santa. Like, maybe he got shot down.
Exhausted after.
On his way back. This is a Christmas movie. That's what it would have been. So... Allegedly,
I don't actually think it's a toy. I'm just...
We'll get to it. Allegedly, radar had also tracked an unidentified object into the woods, although Ian Ridpath, the guy who has the really thorough website, he says that he has not found any substantiating evidence to support that claim, so I don't really know. Either way, they had, like, sort of an idea of where they're going. And so Burroughs and Penniston, and then a third man, who I think might have been this guy named Ed Cabansag. He's not going to come up that much more, but I think that's who it was.
We can just call him Ed.
We'll just call him Ed. So they drove into Rendlesham Forest in the direction of the fallen object. And eventually, they... allegedly came upon a triangular metallic object that appeared to be hovering above the ground. Yes.
A triangle is a two-dimensional shape. Pyramid is a triangle but 3D shape.
Okay. I don't know. I mean,
I'm just being nitpicky and bitchy now.
Okay. Well, I have seen a 3D rendering of this, and I would describe it as triangular. A tri-pointed shape. A tri-pointed 3D shape.
Where's my rendering?
Well, we'll get to
It's
that.
not in my file folder?
It's not in your file folder.
I feel like it should be in my file folder.
Well, we're going to get to that because
I'm going to keep supplying me with manila folders. I'm going to start demanding that all of my pictures and other, like, supplemental info is prepared and put into, like, dossiers like this.
Here's the thing. I considered it. But here's the thing. The one drawing from a witness, I think is very unreliable. I have reason to believe that it was drawn several years/decades later. So I'm not thinking that is reliable. And the 3D rendering, which we will get to at the very end, is basically a monument that's already at the site now. So it's like not real. It's just like a statue. But I'll show it to you later.
Okay.
And then we can debate how we would describe it as either rectangular
or gonna debate
pyramid shaped. Okay. So the official report, which we will get to, would describe this as, quote, approximately 2 to 3 meters across the base and approximately 2 meters high. How good is your meters to feet conversions?
2 to 3, so that's 6 to 9 meters versus 6.
Very good.
Or, yes. Feet.
Yeah, it's like...
I'm talking in feet.
Yeah.
Because a meter is basically 3 feet.
Yeah. It's technically 6.5 to 10 feet, but it's fine. The official report also describes it, quote, having, quote, a pulsing red light on top and a bank of blue lights underneath. And also, quote, the object was hovering or on legs. Which I think means that the legs maybe, like, you couldn't see it. Couldn't see them. Yeah,
because it was dark, and then I'm sure the lights would have obscured any legs.
I tried to sketch this out while I was writing it, and I didn't do a very good job.
I want to see it.
They're at my job. I was... sketching them in my little notebook.
Why aren't they in my dossier?
Listen.
I'm gonna be high maintenance now and start making all sorts of demands.
I know, I give you a fancy folder with dogs on it.
2 weeks in a row, folks, I got a manila folder, and she's already upgraded the folder itself. I want the contents to be upgraded too. Tell me you're with me.
We'll see. These people are gonna be lucky if I remember to take a picture of the corn doll that I keep referencing, which I don't know if I have said. It's a candle that is shaped like a corn cob.
It is so phallic. It is distracting, but it's really bumpy. So
it's very realistic looking to a corn cob. It looks like it's not. I bought it because it looks like a corn. And then the candle holder looks like the husk part.
Yes, it's very cute.
Don't grip it like that. I said this is a Dante safe episode.
It is. He just thinks we're being silly with corn.
Oh my gosh. Also, I'm not gonna lie, I saw it and I thought of that cute little corn song on TikTok. The little boy who's like obsessed with corn.
Yeah.
Which is adorable if you watch the whole video.
I mean, it is fairly realistic, except it's so skinny. It's not very girthy.
That's true. It's a long, skinny corn.
It is long, so there's that.
All right, I'll take a picture of the corn bowl. It was $5.
Well spent.
I know, right? Never gonna use it. I mean, I'm not gonna ever gonna use it as a candle.
No, you don't. Candles aren't made like that to be lit.
It's always going to be decoration.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
The only time that thing is ever supposed to melt is in the heat of the attic in between.
No, it's never going in the attic. I forgot I have an audio clip to share with you that I probably cannot share on here. All right, so it was hovering, or it was on legs that we couldn't see. All right, so as they are allegedly approaching this alleged aircraft that they allegedly saw,
Allegedly.
Allegedly. They also noticed that the farm animals that were nearby in pastures were super agitated. The word frenzy was used in the official report.
I do like the word
right?
frenzy.
And an official, military report, too. And then one of them said that they heard what sounded like a woman screaming, which...
I don't like that.
We're not ever going to resolve that. But someone...
Spoilers.
I know. Someone suggested that specific thing, they didn't account for what was causing the animals to be agitated.
The animal's frenzy?
The frenzy of... yeah. But they suggested that, oh no, you weren't hearing a woman screaming. You were hearing the sound of a muntjac deer, which I'm going to now play for you. Okay, I don't know why in my head I was thinking it didn't sound like the screaming goats, but it does! I think the build-up really helped. But I would argue that if I heard that in the forest, I would not think, oh wow, a lady screaming.
Nope.
I would think, I don't know what I would think, but not a woman in distress. I would probably think, wow, someone's got some goats.
Probably goats.
Wow. Oh, sloshing wine on yourself there. You're wearing a white shirt, too. Or a gray shirt? Blue shirt? I don't know what color your shirt is.
Ivory, cream.
Cream color? Light? A shirt that wine would...
The fact that there's not sweet potatoes on it is a miracle. I already had to change my shorts before coming over.
You're wearing wine-colored shorts, so that's good.
There was a whole bunch. I sat down on the rocking chair because I fed Critter a bottle.
Of sweet potatoes.
No, formula. And he doesn't spit up very much. Mm-hmm. Except when he has formula. Oh. And I forgot about that. And then we went upstairs and we did a thing and we ended up playing a lot. And, he's been laughing. He doesn't giggle a whole lot. Oh. But when you play with his belly and, tickle him, then he laughs and giggles. So I was definitely doing that. We were rolling around and I was doing Super Baby and playing all around with him. And we had a grand old time. And then we went back downstairs. I'm like, let's just go sit on the rocking chair and watch the cars and the train and everything. And maybe he'll be chill. Because this kid is not chill. He both is very chill and is not chill. He's very cool, a very good baby, but he's always moving. He is always moving. I'm so tired because he is always moving. And I was like, well, let's just sit on the rocking chair and chill. And then shortly after, we plopped down, the leg on my shorts right by where his leg was, where he was sitting on me, I was like, oh, it's very warm and it's very wet. Did he somehow pee through his diaper? Oh no. Because that is not an impossibility at all. And I looked down and there's all this white stuff on my leg and I'm like, nope, he spit up on me a whole lot.
Did he just projectile or was it all over him too?
Just a little bit on him. It was more of he kind of looked down and went, bleh.
That's nice. At least he didn't get it all over himself.
No, but he did get all of his sweet potatoes all over himself, 20 minutes later when I fed him. So it doesn't really matter. Well, sorry for the tangent, folks.
Baby tangent. Everyone take a drink. Oh, man. I don't know how to look up if we can keep in that sound. If we can't keep it in, that's great interpretation of what the muntjac deer sounds like. All right, so they heard that, or a woman screaming. I don't know. Also,
or something in between.
Or something. I don't know. They heard something else.
Well, it's like, that stupid song, What Does the Fox Say? And he makes all those obnoxious noises.
Yeah.
I saw a video once where somebody actually broke it down. They're like, these are actually noises that foxes make.
Foxes make wild sounds.
Yeah. And they would play the of the song. Yeah. And they're like, and here's a clip of a fox making a very, very similar sound.
Oh. Who knew?
I think it's What Does the Fox Actually Say?
I'm going to look that up afterwards. Mm-hmm. I have a list of stuff now that I need to watch because there's a movie I'm going to reference again later in this. If I could have put that in your dossier, I would have. Also, allegedly, the radios of these 3 men begin malfunctioning, so they're not able to call back to their base, which, red flag. And they also said that the air seemed to be filled with static electricity. And the object/craft was apparently able to maneuver through the trees with ease. And as it seemed to be approaching the forest floor, a bright light from the craft began to light up the entire woods. So remember, that was all alleged. Because Burroughs and Cabanstag would both later give statements that contradicted that whole account. So Cabanstag said, quote, "We figured the lights were coming from past the forest since nothing was visible when we passed through the woody forest. We would see a glowing near the beacon light, but as we got closer, we found it to be a lit-up farmhouse. We got to a vantage point where we could determine that what we were chasing was only a beacon light off in the distance." And then Burroughs would say, quote, "We could see a beacon going around, so we went towards it. We followed it for about 2 miles, or 3 kilometers, before we could see it was coming from a lighthouse." So they are both later now saying, no, we didn't see a craft. We just followed a light, and it didn't really go anywhere.
Worst wise men ever.
Right. So that leaves Peniston. Our boob of the group.
What is the comic strip? Beetle Bailey?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's our Beetle Bailey.
There you go. Except I like Beetle Bailey. And I don't know.
I
Well,
liked Chef in that one.
You liked who?
The Chef.
Oh.
I think he just went by Chef.
Oh, okay. I just remember Beetle Bailey and then the bully guy. Sarge, was that his name? Okay, so Peniston is sticking to this story about the craft, and according to him, well, I mean, not according to him, this is true about him, he was expertly trained in aircraft recognition, and so now, according to him, he allegedly volunteers to get a closer look at the craft while the other 2 men hang back and, like, provide cover.
Mm-hmm.
This is very main character storytelling now. So, and mind you, there aren't any other witnesses that, like, corroborate this part of the story. This is just...
How convenient.
This is just Peniston's storytelling. When he got a closer look, he saw what he described as a black triangular craft. It had, quote, "a smooth, opaque, black glass outer shell. No windows or
Obsidian.
Obsidian, if you will. Mm.
Oh, I will.
Obsidian is what Jarek's dice are made out of.
His
Dungeons and Dragons dice. I think. That's what he says are made out of. Not these.
No.
These are resin. I assume. I mean, he paid like $60 for his, so. And he says they're obsidian, so.
Yeah, no, these are acrylic.
I don't know. I like mine.
They're pretty.
They're fancy. I feel like they're fancy.
We should do an episode
on
that
dice.
that somehow ties in decision making.
You like a choose your own.
Kind of, yeah.
Don't tell Jarek. He's doing one-shots right now, which is like D&D campaigns that only take a few hours instead of a few
months or years.
Months/years. And he'd be into it. Although that would imply like an hours long episode.
Oh yeah, no, that's not happening.
That's too many hours. Okay, so we have an obsidian craft, triangular craft. Didn't say anything.
Obsidian is both technically a mineral, but also not. It's a glass, but it's one of those things that, like, ice is technically a mineral.
Really?
Yep, based on the things that the characteristics that make something a mineral.
Mm-hmm.
Ice has all of those characteristics. It's something about, like, a crystalline structure and things I can't remember at all because I'm not a geologist.
You are a scientist.
Take a drink, my friends. But I remember that one was one, I believe. And I think the crystalline structure is the potentially the reason why obsidian isn't a mineral, but it is. But it's not, because it's glass. It's been many years since I've been in college, friends. Many years since I've thought about minerals. Many years since I've taken a class literally called mineralogy.
I was going to say, I learned none of that in college. But I also waited until my senior year and took, like, Earth Science 101 to graduate. So.
Rocks for jocks?
Well, no, because we didn't talk about rocks. We talked about cells. I was an art history major, everyone, so... And although I'm very happy to say, I'm not happy to say, I'm not using my major for anything to earn money, but I do now have a job that required a college degree or an award.
A college award.
College
not
award.
A degree. It's a college award. Yes, obsidian is a naturally occurring volcanic glass formed when lava extruded from a volcano, yada yada, cools rapidly with minimal crystal growth.
Oh.
And I think it's like lack of crystalline structure.
Okay, well, I don't know how the aliens got.
Oh, here we go.
Lava.
Is obsidian a mineral, yes or no? We'll come back to me.
Okay. Okay, so the craft doesn't have any windows or landing gear, no apparent wings, no exhaust or mechanical workings at all that Peniston can see.
Oh, so it's just an electric vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at this point, Peniston allegedly begins taking notes in his journal. And this is what he writes. Quote. It's a long one, so get ready. Triangular in shape, the top portion is producing mainly white light, which encompasses most of the upper section of the craft. A small amount of white light peers out of the bottom. At the left center is a bluish light, and on the other side, red. The light seemed to be molded as part of the exterior of the structure, smooth, slowly fading into the rest of the outside of the structure, gradually molding into the fabric of the craft. So he wrote all of that in his little journal that he carries with him.
Sometimes, official reports for things, like, that just sounds like it's automatically going to be boring. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you from experience that is not always the case.
Yeah, also, spoiler alert, that didn't make it into the official report. That's just what he allegedly said he wrote down in his notebook. So that was his little notes that he was taking.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say that sometimes official reports are awesome.
Right.
Because I've had to read investigation reports for, like, hog farm issues.
Yeah.
And sometimes they are dry and have nothing. Other times they read like a freaking soap opera.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this did not make it.
Yeah, you said not our official report.
He also said, again, allegedly, that there were hieroglyphics on the side of the craft. They seem to be carved into this glass-like material. And they were about 3 feet wide and 5 to 6 inches tall, which I don't know if that's like, maybe, I don't know. In my head, I was thinking that was the length of each hieroglyphic, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. That's got to be the length of, like, the whole thing, right? Like the
3
series.
feet wide and 5 to 6 inches tall?
Yeah, that's got to be the length of, like, the
that's
whole
like
inscription.
That's like a nameplate inscription thing.
It's like, okay. Do we have pictures of any of this? No, we do not.
But I have a manila folder here.
Let me tell you, this is why you're not getting to look at it yet.
Dog folder. I want to look at it.
Because again, even though Peniston, alleges that he wrote all this down in his notebook, we do not have pictures or recreations of any of it. So next what he does is he touches the hieroglyphics.
No, you don't touch the hieroglyphics. Everyone knows that.
Well, he did, and suddenly a bright light enveloped him and he blacked out. Or just like kind of went into a daze and then kind of came out of the daze. And when he came out of the daze, the craft was flying away. So, And again, this is all alleged. He says he spent about 45 minutes total with the craft. This part is not alleged. This actually did happen. It did leave 3 depressions in the ground, as well as burn marks on the trees that had been facing the clearing where it landed. There's a picture on one of the sites that I've included, one of my sources, and it's of like a cast of the depression. It literally just looks like a blob of plaster. I'm like, this tells us nothing.
It's got like a mushroom foot, like a mushroom anchor depression.
Yeah, but you can't tell anything. You know, it's like it's like if you went to my backyard and just poured plaster in one of the holes that Kelly dug. You know, like it does not seem significant in any way. Okay, so the men finish up their escapades. They go back.
Investigation.
It's
not an escapade. They're not having fun. This is work. This is serious business. We are investigating.
Well, someone calls, I don't want to say the actual police, because these are like
military officers.
Someone calls the local police.
There we go.
Around 4 a.m. I don't know who called the police.
Probably someone else in the vicinity.
But someone calls the local police. They come out. It is obviously very dark. And so they look around and they're like, we'll come back when it's light. Shortly after sunrise, some more servicemen go out to the clearing. They see the depressions in the ground. They see the burn marks on the trees. So you have a few more people who are like, okay, here's some physical evidence. Something happened. 10:30 a.m., the local police are called again. They come out. The people are like, hey, here's some depressions in the ground. Here's some burn marks on the trees. The local police are like, okay.
Here's some weird stuff.
The police are like, yeah, those look like rabbit burrows. Looks like a rabbit did that, so we're gonna leave.
I'm also thinking, like, I'm thinking feral hogs. Like, if it's a depression that's, you know, any significant size, like bigger than something you can, you know, make with your hands. I'm thinking if it's like feral hogs that are wallowing and creating depressions.
Could have been that deer we heard earlier. At the very least, I will include a link to that video.
Are you trying to say that my interpretation doesn't cut it?
I just really hope we can include the sound. The waiting was the best part. Having to wait like a full minute for that.
Yeah, I don't know. We need a lawyer to help us out with any kind of like copyright details.
I'll check the description comments. I don't know. I'll write in the comments of that video. Be like, can I include this on a podcast?
I mean, I have a lawyer friend that I can text and ask and be like, but it would be a really weird thing.
We'll see. We'll look. We'll. I mean, I have like a day to do that research and figure it out. We'll see. By the time
it is clearly not our video. I think if we state that we are not claiming that this is our property and providing the information to access this video.
Oh, it was posted 2 years ago. Okay, so on December 28th, so 2 days later, in the early morning, Deputy Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt went to investigate the landing site with several other servicemen. So he had, like, heard about it. And he took with him, is it called a Geiger counter?
A Geiger counter, yeah, for detecting radioactivity.
Okay, so maybe it was what he took. So he's basically taking radiation readings in the area. And he's like recording himself on a cassette tape while he's doing it because he's a professional.
If there's a recording, why isn't it in my dossier?
Listen, you're gonna get the memo in just a second.
Let me open it.
No, I have to tell you about the radiation first. Okay, so
I'm not going to be impressed, just so you know.
Okay, well, I learned about radiation.
That's good for you because you're afraid of it.
I am.
And learning more about something like that is a definite way to help you, if not get over your fear, but
later.
What is the word? Acclimate, deal with
It'll come up later. Okay. So they took radiation readings in and around the area where the depressions were made. And they got readings of between 0.03 to 0.07 milliroentgens per hour, which it's not like the regular thing you measure radiation with. I don't know. All right, according to EPA.gov.
What are the units you normally measure radiation
You know, I don't know. I didn't write that down. You can look that up on your phone right now. I did like the conversion thing. Okay. So mine is like MR per hour. So like lowercase m, capital R per hour. Geiger's is probably what you measure them in, right?
Curies.
Curies? Like Madame Curie?
So,
that seems mean.
According to cdc.gov, this is just an excerpt. This is not official research, BT dubs. The amount of radiation being given off or emitted by a radioactive material is measured using the conventional unit Curie, CI, named for famed scientist Marie Curie, or the SI unit Becquerel, BQ.
Okay, well, we're going with milliroentgens. Whatever. All you need to know is that according to EPA.gov, normal / none, like where, like here, like if you were measuring here, you would expect anywhere from 0.0006 to 0.0083. So if you remember, they got 0.03 to 0.07. Okay. So it's not normal. So it's like above normal. But radiation from space or from flying in a commercial airplane ranges...
So space adjacent.
Space adjacent. Ranges anywhere from 0.0023 to 0.2. So they measured above normal, but like also not more than what you would be exposed to on an airplane. They also measured, just like physically measured the depressions in the ground, and they were 1.5 inches deep and 7 inches wide. Is that wild hog size? Okay.
Yeah, it's actually small for feral hogs.
Maybe it's a baby feral hog. Maybe it's 3 baby feral hogs. Okay.
In an isosceles formation.
Yeah. So during their investigation...
Or was it equilateral? Equilateral.
Well, according to you, it's not a triangular shaped
The
thing.
feat would be if there's 3 equal depressions.
I don't know if they're equal or not.
Well, I mean, if there's 3 depressions, that would be a triangular shape.
Okay.
Connecting those.
Okay.
Because that would be 2-dimensional.
Okay.
Length and width, my friend.
Okay. So during their investigation...
You know I'm not wrong.
I know you're not wrong. Okay. During their investigation. So they're like taking measurements and shit. And all of a sudden...
That's what I do for work all the time. I take measurements and
Okay, well, does this ever happen? All of a sudden, Halt describes in the official report, which I'm about to let you look at, something that he describes as a, quote, red sun-like light moving through the trees away from them. So the men followed the light. Halt described it throwing off particles and then breaking up into 5 white objects that disappeared completely. And then 3 lights appeared in the sky, one in the south and one in the... Wait. Doesn't add up to 3.
Alright, you're gonna have to rewind.
Oh my gosh.
Rewind for me a little bit.
Alright, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and let you look. Okay? Don't look at the second page. Only look at the first page. Open your dossier, please.
It really does feel like a dossier because I have an
official memo
from the Air Force.
Department of the Air Force. Mm-hmm. So this was later...
Subject, unexplained lights.
Yes. This is later known as the Halt memo. And this is the official report that Colonel Halt wrote about the night of the 26th and then also the night that he went to investigate.
Okay, I'm looking at point 3 here about the sunlight light.
Yes. Let's see if I can correct myself here.
Yeah, it seemed to throw off glowing particles and then broke into 5 separate white objects and then just disappeared. Immediately thereafter, 3 star-like objects were noticed in the sky. 2 objects to the north and 1 to the south.
There you go.
Yeah. So that is 3.
Yes, I just wrote 1 and 1.
So yeah, 2 to the north and 1 to the south. So
yes.
An upside down triangle, basically.
Lots of triangles here.
So many triangles. Oh my gosh, the Freemasons are going to be all over this. Because something about the pyramid and the back of the dollar sign, that's a Freemason thing, right?
You just wait. We haven't even gotten to the pyramids yet.
You keep talking about triangles and looking at me like I'm crazy with pyramids, but there's actual... Come on.
Everyone take a drink because Katie technically guessed ahead.
Finish my drink for that one. Bitch.
Do you want to continue with that? You're basically just summing up the points that I'm making.
I just want to keep reading this report real quick. So we've got 2 objects to the north and 1 to the south, all of which were about 10 degrees off the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, just barely above the horizon.
Right.
The objects to the north remained in the sky for about an hour or more. The object to the south was visible for 2 or 3 hours and beamed down a stream of light from time to time.
So that's like the one official report for all of this. If you want, you're more than welcome to read the first 2 points.
The first 2 points just kind of cover things that you already went over. I know at least point number 2 talk about the depressions.
Right. And then point number 1 talks about the first encounter.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting because there isn't witness corroboration other than this report talk about them actually encountering a craft. So years later, Halt would summarize his experience in the woods by saying, quote, "What I saw, I am firmly convinced, didn't have anything that we know or could relate to inside it. Maybe they're not a being as we know. Maybe they're an entity that just has intelligence and we just can't relate to it." Several years later, unnamed retired air traffic controllers told Halt in a sworn signed statements that they had seen an object fly across their 60-mile scope in a matter of seconds and then come back, stop near the water tower, and then go over the forest where Halt and his men were. And allegedly, they told Halt that when an air traffic controller reports a UFO, they get decertified, which is why they didn't report it. I just want to point out, UFO just stands for Unidentified Flying Object.
Yeah. Just because somebody says, I saw a thing, I don't know what I saw, because I couldn't automatically identify it as a specific thing, doesn't mean that they're crazy. It doesn't mean that they're it was an alien. No, it just means, I saw a thing, and because of where I was, or the other conditions, or my own freaking eyesight, I couldn't determine what it was.
And it also seems like an extremely dangerous policy to be if you can't immediately identify the thing that you see, don't report it.
Because what if it is... What if it's some sort of wackadoo experimental aircraft from some other country?
Literally, what if it's a ballistic missile that you just aren't familiar with?
And you're just I don't know what that is. I'm not going to report it.
Don't say anything. Yeah. That's a terrible policy to have.
Yeah, no, that really is. It's just any policy for any job, anywhere, ever, that your employee is afraid to speak up or say something, you need to rethink your company policies. That's not okay.
Also, I would argue that, like, an air traffic control, like, I would be like, hey, my job is just to report these things. Your job is to figure out what they are. My job is to sit here and look at my 60-mile scope and be like, and a thing came here and went up and went down, and now it's over there. My job is to tell you that I saw it and what it did, and now it's your job, because you're the officer, to figure out what it is and what to do about it. My job isn't to figure out what to do about it or figure out what it is, just whatever. So on January 13th of 81 is when Halt submitted his unexplained lights report. It is noted by pretty much everyone that he did get the dates wrong. In that he said December 27th, when it actually happened on the 26th. Mm-hmm. But he also wrote it like several weeks later.
Well, and the other thing is that there's also, I guess, in a lack of continuity through his points about, it says early in the morning of 27th of December.
Yeah.
Of 1980, and then the next point is talking about the next day and the depressions
being
measured, and it says later in the night. It's not very clear.
Yeah, it's
because that implies later in the night of the following day of the 28th.
Yeah, which honestly, if it was me,
which apparently, no, something else happened on the 28th. Never mind.
I mean, he's also probably writing on a typewriter and just trying to like get all the details down.
Oh. For sure. Well, I don't know. Computers existed.
Yeah, that's true.
At least for the military, not PCs.
Not for regular people. No one else submitted any kind of documentation, and that might have been the reason that neither the U.S. nor the British government saw any reason to further investigate this incident. And because it wasn't investigated any further, many believe that it either didn't happen, wasn't extraterrestrial, or that it was a hoax. Halt, for one, believes that it was a government cover-up. And in June of 2010, because remember, this all happened in 1980, so like everyone's still alive. Everyone involved in it, I think, is still alive.
Well, wasn't one of them like 19 years old or something?
Yeah.
You said?
Yeah. Burroughs was 19.
Yeah.
So he's like 60?
Okay, so there was only one official report submitted, right? Mm-hmm. But there were these multiple witnesses, and we know that because there are these other... We have names of other people. Is it because Halt was like a CO or a commanding officer? And he was the one that was like, look, I'll just submit the report if you guys want to just back me up on it, or...
I think so. I'm not 100% sure where... I know that, like... So, I know that there was documentation on it that, like, also mysteriously disappeared later. But I also know, which I sort of touch on later, that, like, a lot of people didn't come forward until much, much later. Which Halt's theory on that is, which kind of makes sense, if you're in the military, especially if you're an officer, coming forward about something like this might impact your career. Like, if you're career military,
yes,
that could definitely impact
talking about the air traffic controller who's not going to say they saw a UFO for fear of their job, like, that absolutely makes sense. If you're looking for a ticket out.
Yeah.
So it's a catch-22.
Yeah. So, Halt signs this affidavit in 2010 and basically saying that, like, he believes there's a government cover-up. He got a ton of criticism for that, including from his former base commander, whose name is Colonel Ted Conrad. And Conrad said this in 2010, quote, "We saw nothing that resembled Lieutenant Colonel Halt's descriptions, either in the sky or on the ground. We had people in position to validate Halt's narrative, but none of them could." He also stated in an interview that Peniston at the time of the incident, or that he interviewed Peniston at the time of the incident, and that Peniston didn't report like any of the stuff that he basically he came up with a story about encountering the aircraft after the fact and on the night and like immediately following. He didn't say any of that. And then Conrad later said of Halt, quote, "He should be ashamed and embarrassed by this allegation that his country and Britain both conspired to deceive their citizens over this issue. He knows better." But
I mean, first of all, it doesn't even sound like it's much of an issue.
yeah.
And, you know, like, screaming cover-up is usually something that's reserved for, like, bigger instances. This seems more like there might have been some sort of potentially, like, high-level experimental aircraft situation.
Yeah.
Like, if there was something to cover up, like, that's what it would be.
Yeah.
But
Also, I mean, I am about to say something that's going to make
okay.
Colonel Conrad look, have egg on his face. But also, like, I don't know. I shouldn't be like, don't be like, oh, you should be ashamed. Like, everyone thinks the government's doing cover-ups about all sorts of shit. Like,
because the government is covering up all sorts of shit.
Like, come on. Don't be like, the government's never covered up anything. Yes, the fuck they have. All the time.
My 6-month-old child got fussy in the middle of a documentary at the same time where we were talking about how elected officials aren't actually representing the people that elected them in the first place. He's 6 months old and he knows that. Come on. Anyone else is just intentionally, willful ignorance.
Yeah, like, come on. You don't even have to... Okay.
I'm not saying that, aliens are 100% fact and that we've been visited by extraterrestrials and that there's... I'm not saying that, but I'm not saying that.
Well, and I think...
All I'm saying is that the government definitely feeds us bullshit.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dante. We said this was a safe episode, but you need to learn at some point that the people in charge don't always tell the truth. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's one of those things where it's like, it's truly, I don't want to say it's a bipartisan thing, but like, truly whatever side of the political spectrum you fall on, I think everyone can agree. The government for sure, like, doesn't tell you the truth all the time, for sure has conspired to cover up things. I thought everyone knew that. Like, don't sit here.
It doesn't matter what side you're on. Whoever is in power is 100% hiding things from us.
It is
what it is. It is what it is.
So, speaking of, Conrad said all that shit about, like, oh, you should be ashamed and whatever. So, in 1983...
Should he, though? Should he?
No, he shouldn't. And because in 1983, the same...
All you said was that you saw some weird shit.
And that the government covered it.
Yes.
Okay.
That's not the weirdest thing you said. That is by far the most believable thing that he said was that he saw something, but the government was like, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't see
No, you didn't. It's totally fine. You didn't see anything weird. Everything's fine. If the government says everything's fine, everything is not fine. Sorry, I'm turning into a tinfoil hat wearing crazy person
At
now.
a military base that probably housed nuclear weapons. Like,
no, not probably. Possibly.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Okay, so in 1983,
Perhaps.
Colonel Ted Conrad was cited in an article done by Omni magazine. This is a long quote, but stick with me. Quote, Colonel Ted Conrad, the base commander, recalls 5 Air Force policemen spotted lights from what they thought was a small plane descending into the forest. 2 of the men tracked the object on foot and came upon a large tripod-mounted craft. It had no windows, but was studded with brilliant red and blue lights. Each time the men came within 50 yards of the ship, Conrad relates, it levitated 6 feet in the air and backed away. They followed it for almost an hour through the woods and across the field until it took off at a, quote, phenomenal speed. Acting on the reports made by his men, Colonel Conrad began a brief investigation of the incident in the morning. He went into the forest and located a triangular pattern ostensibly made by the tripod legs. He did interview 2 of the eyewitnesses and concludes, quote, "Those lads saw something, but we don't know what it was." To which I would say, so which one is it, Conrad? Did you see something? Or didn't they?
I am mad.
Me too.
I am mad at Conrad.
Well, get ready because I'm about to make you mad at some other people.
Just don't make me mad at Peniston.
Oh, no, you're going to be mad at Peniston.
Oh,
so sorry.
Peniston!
Not yet. Okay, so Peniston and Burroughs.
Okay.
So our 2 main guys.
Mm-hmm.
They both, this is just like some more evidence to throw on here. So they both later on developed some health issues that they attributed to this encounter.
That's my skepticism flaring. Sorry, guys.
That's okay. So they both were diagnosed with PTSD, which can be from a lot of things, but okay.
I'm not gonna get mad at them.
Peniston would have trouble sleeping. He had vertigo and he had tinnitus. To which I would say I have like 2 of those things. So, and I have not had an encounter with an alien spacecraft that I know of.
Allegedly.
That I allegedly know of. Mm-hmm. Burroughs, however, so he was the one who was 19. Mm-hmm. So he started having heart problems fairly young, and he had to have a pacemaker. And then eventually his mitral valve failed in 2011 when he was only 50. And doctors were like, that usually doesn't happen yet. You're usually a lot older when that happens. And so his doctors were like, well, can we get your previous health records to see, like, if there's anything that could be causing this? And
no,
so they tried.
History?
Well, they tried, and the military was like, no, his history is classified. And
well, that's not raising any kind of flags for me.
Yeah, and Burroughs was like, no, please. I think he contacted, like, John McCain to be like, can you please get my medical records from the military? And John McCain was like, sure, I'll try, and then couldn't.
Yeah, because apparently you don't, your stuff doesn't belong to you.
Yeah.
If you're part of the military.
So
I'm not getting into that.
Yeah. So he had to take some kind of legal action, and eventually his doctors were able to uncover 2 documents from the British Ministry of Defense that documented, and this is what's confusing to me, quote, high radiation levels at the site of the UFO encounter, which we already kind of covered. There weren't high radiation levels there. There were just, like,
above
average, but, like, no more than...
Yeah. Above average for a non-commercial airline flight.
Right. But I'm wondering if that is their way of covering up some kind of radiation exposure from, like, a nuclear weapon. Maybe.
Or some other kind of nuclear experimentation.
Right. Because the doctors were like, oh, well, that explains your heart problems, I guess.
I don't know if it does explain it, or could potentially.
Yeah.
Can we add those in there? I mean, I'm not a doctor, so...
From what I remember...
I don't know, but I feel like doctors also aren't going to speak in absolutes on that.
Yeah, I mean... From what I remember from 2 years ago when we did the radiation episode, I don't feel like heart problems were, like...
I don't remember that being on the list, and I also feel like that is one thing.
Yeah.
Like, unless there's... it just seems very discriminatory for radiation to impact.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're gonna have some sort of, impacts from radiation exposure, it's gonna be more generalized, not localized.
Yeah.
It's gonna be, you're gonna get it all over. It's not gonna be one specific valve in your heart.
Yeah.
I'm thinking a genetic thing here.
Yeah. Well, in 2015, an article on themirror.uk ran this headline. British UFO encounter, quote, gave me heart failure, says U.S. airman after military chiefs agree to pay his medical bills. So he won, like, a lawsuit, and, like, the military paid for his medical bills. His lawyers did claim that the ruling essentially proved that UFOs exist. To which I would say that's not how proof works.
No, I'm thinking it was cheaper for the military to just pay this guy off.
So much cheaper.
Or it was just in their best interest to pay this guy off than to actually go into detail about what was going on in this area at this time.
They're like, what is it, $10,000 to pay for your new heart valve? There you go. Easy.
Oh, you want us to just admit that you saw a UFO and we covered it up? Yeah, that's what we'll say we covered up.
Sure.
You got it.
Are you ready for this? Well, you have one more paper in your dossier, and I'm about to let you read it. All right. In 2010, Peniston appeared on an episode of Ancient Aliens. And they don't look at it yet.
I'm not looking at it yet. I mean, I looked at it, but I couldn't read anything.
Okay, good. So this episode obviously featured the story of the Rendlesham Forest incident. And conveniently in 2010, Peniston he has a new part to add to the story that he forgot to tell us the first time.
Or was afraid to or coerced not to.
That's right. So remember his notebook that he's writing stuff down in. So
not the official report.
No, not the. So the night after the encounter, he I'm going to use the term that Ancient Alien used. Telepathically downloaded a series of binary code and wrote it down in his notebook. And
makes me think of Flight of the Conchords. Binary breakdown. 00001 0000011 0000111.
That's basically what happened in his brain. But he wrote it down, and then he immediately forgot it. And then he conveniently forgot. He just like wrote it down and was like, oh, this probably isn't important. Put his notebook down. Didn't think about it for 30 years. And then Ancient Aliens contacted him, and he was like, oh, I wonder if this is important. And so a coder ran it through some translation software. And now I would like you to look at your second page and read for us what was translated.
Exploration of humanity, continuous for planetary advance, origin year 8100, and then some coordinates, eyes of your eyes, origin, and coordinates. Which also I want to note too that coordinates are decimal degrees. And I mean, even if it's decimal degrees or hours, minutes, I've only ever seen coordinates in north and west. I've never seen coordinates in north and east. Until now.
Well,
so some of these are north and west, some of these are north and east.
Do you want me to tell you what all those coordinates are for?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it, because I've got a lot to unpack here.
Okay.
Go ahead. Give me the north and west and the north and east.
All right. So the first set is for Caracol, which is a set of Mayan monuments in Belize.
Of course, we can't talk about aliens without mentioning the Mayans.
Of course. The second set is Red Rock State Park in Sedona, Arizona.
Okay.
The third set, that north and east, the Pyramids of Egypt.
More pyramids!
Yay! The southwest are the Nazca Lines in Peru.
Oh, you're right. This is a south. That little S is a sneaky little
sneaky.
bastard.
Do you know what the Nazca Lines are?
Where are they again?
They're in Peru.
Are those more pyramid type structures?
So they are ancient geoglyphs. So they're literally just like lines drawn, or like shapes and pictures drawn in the sand. You can only see them from like above. They were created between 500 BCE and 500 CE. Okay. And like the Google Maps location says that they're of unknown origins. And then Wikipedia is just like, there's a lot of things that we think made them probably not aliens. So the one after that is Mount Taishan in China, which is one of 5 sacred mountains in China. And then the one right before Eyes of Your Eyes is the Temple of Apollo in Naxos, Greece. And then the final one, the origin one, which I know this is all bullshit, but it still gives me the creeps. It's just a random spot in the Atlantic Ocean about 100 miles off the coast of Ireland.
Utopia. Or no, Atlantis.
Atlantis.
That's the one I wanted.
I have some stuff to say about this, but I have one more thing to tell you about before. And like, okay.
Proceed.
I read that before I like read like the source of it, and I was like so creeped out because I was like looking up the coordinates. I was like, ooh, the Temple of Apollo. And then I was like, oh man, I was on Ancient Aliens. Never mind. In 2018, an anonymous source, which we love, came forward to none other. Who else would we come forward to? None other than someone we all know, obviously. Famed Sheffield Hallam University lecturer and UFO expert, David Clark. I don't know. He's a lecturer at some college. And this anonymous source chose this lecturer to come forward to anonymously.
Anonymously and allegedly?
And allegedly. Yeah, allegedly and anonymously. Okay, so because, remember, their Woodbridge and Bentwaters were like sister bases.
Twin bases. Not just sisters.
Not just
twins.
Not like your eyebrows. They are twins.
I was just thinking about how I need to get my eyebrows done. Now I really need to get them done.
No.
That felt personal.
No, your eyebrows are not supposed to be twins. They are only sisters. It's about all eyebrows.
Proceed,
okay.
Please.
Okay.
Without the direct comments on my appearance.
Okay. So because they contained such sensitive stuff.
I have sensitive stuff.
Oh my gosh. So because they contained things like possible alleged nuclear weapons, government authorities were like, we need to keep everyone here on their toes. And so we are going to conduct a series of exercises to enhance security. And this started in the 60s. And the thing that was fun about these exercises is that they were unannounced. They were just
surprise fire drills.
Yeah, they were surprise fire drills that you didn't know were drills. So, according to the anonymous source, one such exercise took place in August of 1980. And in the exercise, UK Special Air Service troopers parachuted into the forest near Bentwaters. They were, I guess, not expecting to be, like, found out immediately, but they were because the base had, like, new surveillance that they didn't know about. So they were really quickly detained, and despite, like, immediately identifying themselves as British soldiers, their U.S. captors allegedly were just kind of, like, dicks and abused them for, like, 18 hours.
Who's shocked?
And according to this source, the U.S. soldiers kept referring to the British soldiers as aliens, like in the term, like meaning like
foreign.
Yeah, foreign. And the source mentioned like, oh, that was strange to us because like the British don't really use that term very much. Like we knew what they meant, but like it's just an American thing to say, I guess, not a British thing. So after their release, the UK soldiers decided that they were going to get some friendly revenge and show the Americans what real aliens were. And so
So it's a prank war. We're talking about a prank war.
Yes. So according to this source, the whole incident was essentially a prank. They used black helium balloons, remote-controlled kites, and colored flares. They were not expecting a senior officer to get involved. And so when Halt got involved and, like, wrote his memo, some questions were asked. And the source implied that, like, questions were asked. Someone, like, pointed out the incident that had happened in August. And then this is a quote. The USAF was, quote, reassured at a very senior level, and no UK investigation was undertaken for obvious reasons. To which I would say, well, you didn't do a good job of communicating that, because, like, that's still a cover-up, though. Like, if, I don't know, just...
Here we are, over 40 years later.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, it was all a prank. And I'm like, okay, well, you guys could literally just say that. You could just be like, oh, it's actually all a prank. It was all a prank. Instead of, no, we just don't need to look into that. You could just be like, or these 6 guys were just, like, butthurt. You know, boys will be boys, whatever.
No, that's like the people that just have their head in the sand about... Like, I, too, am annoyed by social media, the media in general. I, too, think it's absolutely ridiculous about the amount of false information that can be, you know, perpetuated online.
Yeah.
But these are people who are, like, head in their sand of, like, oh, well, if I don't acknowledge it, it'll just blow over. I'm like, no, there's conspiracy theorists and, like, crazy people out there that, like, if you don't come out and deny it, or at least try to.
Yeah.
People are gonna keep running with this.
Yeah.
So, like, on one hand, like, I totally agree with the whole, like, that's so stupid, I'm not even gonna acknowledge that this was nonsense and a prank.
Yeah.
But at the other hand, like, you gotta at least try, maybe, to acknowledge it, and that it just deal with the embarrassment. And say that it was a prank. I mean, at least you're on record trying to say it is. At least we would have somebody, you know, like the last here of like, oh no, it was just a prank. It started as a little prank war and got a little out of hand.
Well,
there.
and of course there's this whole like, oh, everyone's too scared to say anything until they retire. It's like, okay, well, maybe if you didn't have such a toxic fucking work environment where like everyone was too scared to say anything. Okay. All right. I'm just going to tell you some inconsistencies that are literally only about Peniston.
I'll compare a list.
Okay. So, remember his little notebook that he's like allegedly immediately...
That he's referenced, but...
Yeah.
Yep.
He was like, oh, I like took out my notebook and I immediately started writing everything down. So that notebook was not even mentioned until 1994. At the earliest.
14 years later.
And he had been extensively interviewed multiple times before that. And never mentioned a notebook.
At that point, that's almost physical evidence. Like, it's still...
Yeah.
You know, just a thing that he wrote. But it's as close to physical evidence as you can get at this point. Well, other than the little impressions in the ground.
And he said that he had, like, copied the hieroglyphics down. And it's... Okay, but, like, you're not going to show those to anyone, man?
And he
like,
copied down his binary download.
Oh, yeah. But he forgot about that, to be fair. So, the first time he ever brings up the notebook is in this, like, interview. And it's when he gives that, like, really long description where you were saying that, official reports are usually boring, but that one was pretty cool. So, it's, like, long. It's pretty detailed. But then the first time that, like, the public actually sees the notebook is in this 2003 sci-fi documentary. And you see the notebook, and it's literally, like...
I thought that we saw the notebook in, like, 2008 or something.
Oh. I was like, what?
The movie.
Nope. Yeah, I got it. So you see, like, his little notes. They're, like, very shorthand. They're very brief. They are not, like, a long, flowy description of, like, you know... A small amount of white light appears at the bottom and at the left side center. You know, like, it's...
Yeah.
Very...
It's notes, not
he
waxing poetic about it.
Also, when the notebook is briefly shown on the documentary, the first page is dated 27 December, which is wrong. And it says 12:20 aircraft crash, which not only is the wrong time, it's also written civilian style rather than military style, which wouldn't make any sense. It'd be like 0:20.
Yeah, 20.
And again, like, it didn't happen until like 3 a.m., I think.
So it'd be 300 hours.
Yeah. Furthermore, a security guard...
How are you getting all these hundreds of hours? There's only 24 hours in a day.
A security guard named Richard Bertolino remembered sitting next to Peniston on the bus the night of the encounter, and he says Peniston did pull out a notebook and sketched a diagram of the craft for him, but he doesn't remember seeing any other notes from that night in the notebook, and the diagram isn't seen anywhere else in the notebook in the documentary, and neither is that mysterious binary code that was telepathically downloaded to him. So maybe there's two notebooks. I don't know. Or the weird coordinates, yeah. It wasn't until literally the 30th anniversary that Peniston brought up the binary code, and by that time he had plenty of access to the internet where you can just type in what are the coordinates of the pyramids of Egypt, and the internet will just tell you what they are. Yeah. And then I'm sure you can probably type in how to convert this to binary code, and it'll tell you that too. Yeah.
Well, I mean, binary is it's a language, so, you know, you could just go to Google Translate.
Oh, I'm gonna try that.
Actually, it's not. I don't believe it's on the list of drop-down menus. Man. You'd actually probably have to search translate something to binary.
I will try that. This is my favorite little anecdote. In 1994, Peniston underwent regression hypnosis.
Oh, delightful. Hypnosis is now coming into play.
And he told the hypnotist, and I don't know if this is like him remembering stuff that was like told to him, or I don't know, telepathically downloaded to him that he forgot about. So he tells the hypnotist that the craft was an Earth-based technology from tens of thousands of years in the future. Now, if you remember in your dossier, the coordinates, or the binary code said the year of origin was
8100.
8100. That's tens of thousands of years in the future.
I was also thinking if it was the extraterrestrials timeline, like they've been around maybe 8100 years plus.
I mean, we've also been around 81. I mean, not we, but you know, whatever. So it's a Earth-based craft. The pilots were actually future humans who were here to collect genetic material because their species were dying off. And he said, quote,
a lot of assumptions there.
They are time travelers. They are us. And
I am he is, you are we is.
This is also the plot of a TV movie called Official Denial that aired earlier that year. And that's on my list of things to watch. And it literally includes the line, quote, they are us. So it's I don't know if Peniston just like saw.
If you're gonna watch that, you should also watch the 4400.
What's that? Is it a show?
It's a show. I recently watched it and I freaking loved it. And I think they were doing a reboot. And I haven't been able to see or hear any more news of it. But yeah, people have been abducted, or not abducted, but like just disappeared very mysteriously throughout history for decades. And then one day there's this big bright light
and they all come back,
and they are all there. So like if they went missing in the 1940s or the 1960s in like a jungle in Vietnam or wherever, they're all standing there on the beach of this lake, and as you discover that while they're back, they all have some sort of unique supernatural type gift or specialty.
I am gonna watch that.
Yeah, no, it's a good one.
Good. My feel-good show I was watching that occasionally made me cry just ended, so gotta pick something new.
God, this one would be a perfect replacement for that.
Okay. It doesn't sound like a feel-good
There's lots of
show.
government conspiracies in there, too.
Oh, good. I mean, those aren't real, but okay.
The government never lies to us.
No, government is always telling the truth. All right, all I have left is other possible explanations for what this could have been. There's only two.
Okay.
There was a documented fireball that night, according to the British Astronomical Association. It appeared around 2:50 on December 26 over Suffolk County. It was reported to be visible for 3 to 4 seconds. Brightness was comparable to the moon. This would have explained why one serviceman described seeing a tail on the object, and it also would have explained why it was described as a, quote, very bright falling star. That's literally what that was. Other people have thought that it was the Orfordness Lighthouse, which was just a few miles outside of the Rendlesham Forest. It blinks in 5-second intervals, which I guess Halt said at one point in his recording. And so some people think maybe they saw the fireball fall into the woods and they went to investigate it, and then when they were in the woods they saw the lighthouse through the trees. But it's a bunch of trained airmen who are specifically stationed at a base near the lighthouse.
Like, they should be familiar with this landmark.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like we said, several officers have come forward recently, and Halt believes that a lot of them waited until they retired, to say anything. In 2014, a black metal UFO was placed at the landing site in Rendlesham Forest to commemorate an incident. And my last point is, I don't know what to think. If it wasn't for Peniston kind of f***ing up all the evidence, then I think I'd have a clearer idea. But he kind of throws a wrench in it because I don't know, he made up a whole bunch of shit up. And so I don't know. Anyways, thanks everyone for sticking in there, because Jared didn't put the time on there, so I don't know how long we've been recording.
So if you want to see a picture of the report and
the corndle
well, you gotta see that. You can check out our Instagram and Facebook at The Tales We Tell Podcast. If you want to see these things but you don't do the social media, you check out our website, thetaleswetellpodcast.com. And don't forget, if you want to support us and get yourself some sweet, sweet swag, you can check out our Redbubble store for the time being and search The Tales We Tell. And if you want to support us but you don't need the stuff, but you would love to have early access, commercial-free episodes, stickers, love notes, and extra content, you can you can become a patron at patreon.com. Search The Tales We Tell. And we love you. We hope you have a wonderful week. We will see you next week.
Bye.